European sim. My phone doesn't get good reception here. But look at this architecture. Isn't this stunning? Did everybody see the moon last night? No. Oh, it was huge. It was, relax, Christian. I know you saw the moon. Got all excited there. Jesus. Yes, relax. Okay. Yes, let's not talk about the moon anymore. The French have the one of the. Shh, it's okay, Bessie. It's okay. It's all right. So we have the werewolf legend is very, very strong here in France. Yeah, it's one of them started. The main werewolf legend started in France. It's called the loup-garou. And I suppose this is more common, there's some provincial places in France, they're very superstitious and whatnot, and right before the medieval times, they had this legend, the loup-garou. To them, they've seen it. There's documents, there's written accounts of it. I've seen some documentaries, and it's pretty interesting. But maybe la loup-garou was running around last night. Maybe it was Christian. He got all excited. I said full moon. Oh dear. Christian, are you a loup-garou? Yes. Okay, good to know. Right, so we will make a comfort stop outside of Paris to use the bathrooms, make a 20-minute stop, or a half an hour stop. And then we go directly into the center of Paris. I'll drop you off in the city center and give you some free time. Get you a bite to eat. And then we start our included city sightseeing tour. The included city sightseeing tour is very thorough. Huh? So we drive into the Latin Quarter. You get off, you get to go walking around inside Notre Dame with a local guide. That's, really special. That's something amazing. So after that, then we get on the bus to do part of it, driving tour again. And you see, old Paris, and then a photo stop at the Eiffel Tower, and finish in the center. Will give you a bit of free time. Okay, we can't say how much, and timings is a bit, have to see as we go. And then we have the dinner. Okay, so we'll depart from the dinner on the bus and go to dinner. And those of you that are not doing the dinner, okay, we will pick you up afterwards, all right? So it's not a late night. It's not, a very long day full out in Paris if we are stuck there for hours. No, you've got a couple of free hours. You've got to use your, you've got to see Paris. Come on, you've got to have some free time in Paris. So we're saying goodbye to Dijon, and there's a pretty little canal coming up in a little bit on the right. It's very romantic. Okay, so when we get off at the rest stop, a couple hours, you want to finish up the questionnaires, collect the questionnaires there, so you get a little bit of time. Then after we give our headsets, our radios, for the local guide, so she can talk into them and you can hear her, and we'll do that test, make sure they're all working. But just be careful, please don't lose them, all right? Because it takes a police report and is a fine. So it's very important not to lose these. But I mean, it's not like we have a local guide every day on tour. This is a very quick itinerary, but we do have an amazing local guide at the end for Paris. But I will be collecting them, okay? So just be wary, just be careful. Okay, so we're getting closer now, guys. It's not that we're distance far, but we're kind of maybe hit a little bit of traffic before we get in. If it's normal Saturday in Paris. Now we are on the periphery, because the ring road that goes all around Paris. Now Paris was once a walled city. So okay, we do have a little bit of rain, but so how it's going to go, we are going to get off the periphery and enter into the center of Paris and stop on a street called Rue de Rivoli. Think of the word ravioli. Rue de Rivoli. Rue de Rivoli is a very obvious street and meeting point because it's right in front of the Louvre, right in front of the Tuileries Gardens. And so it's nice because right when we get off, we have there's a place to grab sandwiches. There's like a sit-down self-service place. It has pizzas, baguette sandwiches. There's some souvenirs there. And we're trying to give you as much free time as possible. But we will meet on Rue de Rivoli at 1:40. Okay, 1:40. 1:40.
Sorry, Shannon, you just had to be in it. I probably could have, but I'm not that good. Oh no, I was talking to Shannon. Sorry.
Okay, so we're hitting a bit of traffic, so usually we get there between 11:30 and 12:30. It can be that, can vary pretty much depending on what the traffic is like. So this here is normal Parisian traffic. In August, it's strange when you come here to do tours, the whole city is empty. Everybody has left and goes on vacation, so that is very similar to many countries in Europe. It's strange because for Cosmos, it's our lowest season. For international tours, for tourism, for us to work in August is very, very rare. So everybody, the companies and all tour companies are asking people, listen, can you try to request August off because it's the lowest season? But it's strange that all of Europe goes on holiday. So all the hotels and, you know, vacationers in Europe go on vacation in August. But it's something to do with other countries outside Europe. I find it a bit strange because it's our low season, but in Europe it's a high season of vacations and traveling and whatnot. But you go to the city centers, they're completely empty. It's very odd, but nice because everything runs smoothly. So yeah, I run the tours in other countries and other cities. Paris tends to run the tour when we're in Paris. She has her own idea about how things go.
remember that. That's
What you've been
what
given. What you've been given.
All right, so traffic is really congested right now. So we don't want to lose more time. We want to give you, time to use the toilets and get a bite to eat before the tour. So what we're going to do, we're going to get off the Peripherique and see if we can navigate through the center. And now there is a police car going through. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to take perhaps the next exit. Okay, it's usually a little bit further on. But if we get off, maybe we can navigate through the city a little bit to perhaps isn't as congested in the city. Okay, we're doing our best. It's, Parisian traffic is infamous, I should say. did we see the Eiffel Tower from this highway about half an hour ago? It was all blocked off. Kind of, yeah. When we get off, we'll see it. But as you come into Paris, it's nice because you see the highway, and then all of a sudden there it is on the left. It was so cloudy and rainy that couldn't see it. So when we get off, darlings, it will be there, and it will be following us wherever we go in Paris today. So you will be able to see it from many different places in Paris. Okay. It is off in the direction to the right. Perhaps you can see the very tip of it, but when we get off, we'll see it. So here we are, already at the River Seine, which divides the city of Paris into two parts. So the left bank and the right bank. And it's called the Seine. It means snake because it kind of, snakes its way through Paris city center. Now, a big difference between the right and the left bank, which you're going to see. On one side, we have the very posh district with the Champs-Élysées and all the Cartier, the diamonds and the Louvre, and beautiful, expensive shopping. And then on the other side, with the Latin Quarter, it's more kind of your hustle and bustle, early 18th century kind of student town. That's always been the student quarter, the Quartier Latin, kind of more like the die-hard Parisians. So right ahead here we have the headquarters from Microsoft. So maybe we'll see, the owner of Microsoft, who is it? Is it Bill Gates? Yes. He comes and lands on his helicopter, poor thing. Right to Microsoft, straight ahead. So yes, when we get off, we're going to be right along the Seine in the city center. And we are getting there closer and closer, so hopefully another 10 minutes we'll be able to get off. And right, again, when we get off, Rue de Rivoli is our meeting point. There is a self-service station on Rue de Rivoli that serves, you can use the bathrooms, but the bathrooms are downstairs. There's places to get sandwiches, little pizzas, there's the self-service place. And that will be our meeting point, the meeting point for the guided tour, as well as for the dinner, and as well for the final transfer. Okay, so let me go over the timings again, so we have for the included tour, the city sightseeing tour, 1:40. 1:40 on Rue de Rivoli. For the dinner, we meet at 5:15, 5:15. So for the dinner, 5:15, 5:15, same exact place, Rue de Rivoli, at the self-service station. So those of you that aren't doing the dinner and want to have some free time in Paris and going to get something to eat, we will pick you up. Now, I would say get there for 8:30, but we could give us like a leeway of 10-15 minutes because of the traffic. So those of you not doing the dinner, we will pick you up on Rue de Rivoli about between 8:30 to 8:45. Now, if we are not there, patience, we will be there. But it's hard to navigate with this traffic and such like that, and it's almost impossible to give exact timings. in the city of Paris, especially on a Saturday night. Okay, straight ahead. Yay, the Eiffel Tower, finally. Oh, we usually could have seen it a long time ago. Ooh la la, can I have a ooh la la? There we go, there it is. Finally, look, we made it.
Just see.
Isn't it beautiful? So it's straight ahead here on the right. So now there it is. Ooh la la, there we go. They're a little late back there. I know you didn't see it, I know. No, but it's usually a nice surprise as we're coming off the highway, but the weather is a bit ugh. So coming up also, if you see the Eiffel Tower, if you look down to the left, you're going to see the Statue of Liberty, a little mini Statue of Liberty. Now, the man who helped Gustave Eiffel, who created the tower, the Eiffel Tower is made by Gustave Eiffel, he had developed this beautiful statue to be gifted to the United States to show the friendship between the US and France. Now they made a miniature one, that they decided to have a miniature one that will be here on the center. We're going to see that coming up on the right. But look at that here. Some beautiful bridges crossing over the Seine. You're going to see one of my favorite bridges. But look at the ironworks and the bronze statues. One of the prettiest cities in the world, Paris. Yeah, there it is. Can you see the Statue of Liberty? Okay, so yes, this is showing the relationship, the good relations between France and the US. Now coming up, we're going to pass the tunnel where Princess Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed lost their lives. Hold on. Okay, Christian said we're going to go under it. Now the Seine was flooded not too long ago, very much so, and it does flood, so sometimes they close off this street that we are on because of all the flooding. And to the right you can see lots of people like to do river cruise tours on the Seine River. That is a nice thing to do. So in some of our longer itineraries we have some beautiful river cruises along the river, so guided tours on the river. Look at this bridge, I love this, with the lanterns hanging down. Now Paris is the city of lights. It's one of the very first cities to have lights, gas lamps. It's the city of light, city of love, city of art, city of so many things. It's such a beautiful city. Okay, so not this tunnel, but the next one is the one where poor Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed lost their lives fleeing the paparazzi as they were staying at the Ritz, and the beautiful Ritz-Carlton here in Paris.
enough.
Right, so coming up on your left, you have a museum of modern art. Now, here is where they have the famous picture, the Scream. Does anybody know that picture? The Scream with the face. Oh, yeah, that was done by actually a Dutch painter. It was stolen. That one and another one, I forgot which one it was, but it was a very popular one. Hold on, just let me explain this quickly. Here is the tunnel. And up, see that flame up above? Okay, I'll mention that in a minute. But under here where the column is missing is where they lost their lives. Oh, they put in the column. No, up, yeah, they did. Okay, so yes, this poor Diana Doria Fayed car accident. And didn't the driver survive?
No, he died.
He died as well. Okay, yeah, he died. Wow, it was a very bad accident. So, did you see the flame up there?
Yeah.
All right, now that flame, now that is not a memorial to Diana and Dodi, but it is used like that now. So now that is the place where you still be people leaving flowers and trinkets and such like that in memory of Diana. But that is actually a replica of the flame that is on the Eiffel, the Statue of Liberty. Okay, but of course people, it's a nice place for people to leave, you know, some kind of flowers or memorabilia for the loss of Diana. But yeah, so that museum was broken into. So now they got the painting back. They did find it, the Scream. Now it's housed in, and they completely had to revamp the security in there. So that now it's high security, but it is a beautiful museum, kind of modern art. Now that painter, that story goes that he was, you know, staying in kind of an inn somewhere and was being followed home on a dark night, one weekend night, and that describes the feeling. There's many interpretations of that painting, but it is a very famous painting. All right, coming up on the left, we have the Grand Palais. All the glass windows, beautiful glass roof here with the French flag on it. Kind of get trees here. Now, Paris has a lot of trees. I talked about Paris is a very, on the most, a very clean city. France is very environmentally conscious, and they do this for the oxygen, to increase the oxygen, to clean the air. So Paris has a lot of trees for a major city. Coming up on the right, my favorite bridges in the world, the Alexander Bridge. Very romantic to show the Tsar Alexander, the relationship between France and Russia. Look, and then to the back we have Les Invalides. Don't worry, we're flying by it, but you're going to see it on the guided tour. But you can enjoy a little bit of the scenery now. It's a beautiful city center here of Paris. Alright, coming up in front of us, we have the Concorde Square, the Place de Concorde, with the beautiful Egyptian obelisk in the middle. That obelisk was outside the Luxor Temple. On the right, we have the National Assembly, where the French laws are made. Okay, so start gathering your things. We're getting off about 5 minutes. Okay, so 1:40, everybody meets. Okay, 1:40, everybody meets for the sightseeing tour, the city sightseeing. Okay, so the beautiful Place de Concorde coming up on the left with the trees. The Tuileries Gardens and La Orangerie. This is the beautiful museum housing the Monet, the works of Monet and Impressionist painters. Here in the beautiful gardens. Start gathering your things. What you don't need, you can leave on the bus, but
Queuing up because guess what? There's an exhibition on the Barbie doll. This is where you see all those girls dressed in pink. So an exhibition on Barbie. I think it ends this weekend. So of course, well, there's something for everybody. Right. So that's the end of the Louvre. Right here on the left. On the right-hand side, we have the statue of a national hero, Joan of Arc, Jeanne d'Arc. And well, this is where we started from. So you can see this Rivoli street, this beautiful street with all those balconies, and on the left the Tuileries Gardens. So these are the former royal gardens, the gardens of the palace, of the Louvre Palace, and of course at the Revolution it became a public park. So the kings actually would embellish their gardens with statues from the ancient times, but also from their own times, and actually still today we continue the same practice. So the Tuileries Gardens are today the largest open-air sculpture museum in France. So if you have the time and you feel like going for a walk, the Tuileries Gardens is really one of the best places in Paris. You can walk around, you can see some beautiful sculptures, and we also have 2 more museums in the gardens. There are museums everywhere. So just in the corners of the gardens, right where we are right now, there are 2 long buildings with a triangular roof, and well, at the times of the kings, right here, this building on the left was where we used to play a sport that was like the tennis. It was called jeu de paume, and still today it is called jeu de paume. So it is considered the ancestor of the tennis. So actually there was a net in the middle, and the players would have to send the ball, of course, from one side of the net to the other, either with their hand or with a racket. And this is the time when the pointing system actually was established for the tennis, because every time you won a mark, you could approach by 15 feet. So you see, not 15, maybe perhaps 15, something else. Anyway, but this 15, 30 and 40 that we use nowadays for the tennis actually comes from this game. So the Jeu de Paume today is a photography gallery with some very interesting photography exhibitions, but it was quite, this is where something very important happened. Took place during World War II. I don't know if you have seen one of the latest George Clooney films, The Monuments Men. Have you seen that film? Yeah. Anybody? Yes. Yes. Well, at least for George Clooney. So it was based on a real story, because during World War II, while the Nazis who occupied Paris, they confiscated all the artworks belonging to the Jewish families. So all these artworks were brought to that building, thank France, and they gave us this obelisk that was standing in front of the temple of Ramses in Luxor. So it was brought here with a special ship, and we decided to put it, to set it up in the middle of the Concord Square, because we wanted people to forget what was happening on the same spot. And that is actually, on that spot is where the guillotine was placed during the revolution. So 1,200 people have lost their heads here in front of cheering crowds, including the King and Queen of France, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. And now we are ready to get on the most beautiful avenue in the world, well, according to the Parisians at least, and that is the Champs-Élysées. Here it is. So if you have seen the word Champs written, there is the letter P, but you must never pronounce it, you must never say Champs, because it shows it's your first time in Paris. Try and say Champs. If you say Champs, well, people will think that you know Paris, you know, they want to treat you as a first-time visitor. So Champs-Élysées means the Elysian Fields. That's a place in the Greek mythology, according to the Greek mythology, where heroes go when they die. So it's a very glamorous name for a glamorous place. The Champs-Élysées was very, very fashionable. People would come here, they would be dressed up, do some shopping, and here actually we are actually the most fashionable part of Paris right after the revolution. So on the left we have two museums that were built for a world fair. So the world fairs that were organized around the world at the time, it was an excellent opportunity to embellish the cities because many people would visit and we wanted to show off. So 1900 we had a very important world fair and we built two exhibition halls. The first one on the left is called Petit Palais or Small Palace, and today we have the permanent collection of the city of Paris. The second one that you can see on the left with this beautiful glass roof is the Grand Palais or Grand Palace, and today is a space for temporary exhibition. So on the right, yes, there is police and they have blocked off again one street. So this is how you get to the residence of the President of the French Republic. François Hollande lives here, and he's more known of his love affairs than anything else. He has, how do you say this, popularity, actually his popularity percentage at the time is 13%, 1-3. No president ever was so low. Anyway, we are still on the Champs-Élysées. So the Champs-Élysées, the first part of it is the pleasure and leisure, let's say, part with gardens and museums and theaters. And now we're getting on the second half of the avenue, which is the shopping part of Champs-Élysées, and many people come here for their shopping. So it is one of the most expensive avenues in the world, real estate wise. If you want to rent 1 square meter, 10 square feet on the Champs-Élysées, it costs 10,000 euros per month. It's the same price that with which you can buy actually one square meter in Paris. So you see 10 square feet, 10,000 euros per month. So it's one of the most expensive shopping avenues in the world to rent a shop after the Fifth Avenue in New York. But the shops are quite medium range, so we don't have many expensive shops, and of course this is why so many people are here. And shops are open even on Sundays, which is an exception in France, and until very late, until midnight. No one can march under the arch because we wanted it to have a function for peace and not really for war. So the passage is blocked and there is a flame burning on top of this tomb just to keep the memory alive. And every evening, every day of the year, veterans come here in silence and rekindle this flame, which is very touching. So this art also sits in one of the largest roundabouts in the world, as you can see. And well, you can visit, you can go up to the top, you can see the line. So normally there's an elevator, but it's not functioning at all times. So if you plan to visit the art, you go to the top, actually there's a breathtaking view from the top. You better get informed if the elevators are working or not. If not, it's the stairs. Well, it's not too bad, but you know, you have to be warned. On the right hand side, well, you can see another arch which is very modern. Leaders in engineering, and they will launch a competition for a structure to be built in front of the entrance to this world fair. Many people will participate, but Gustav Eiffel will win the competition, and actually he is at the time a kind of a star. He's a very famous engineer because he had just completed the interior structure of the Statue of Liberty in New York. So you may know that the Statue of Liberty was a gift from France to the United States on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of the War of Independence. So Gustav Eiffel did the interior structure of the Statue of Liberty. He was already famous, and when he won this project to build a tower in Paris by proposing to go for a record to try and reach 1,000 feet, or 324 meters if you prefer. So nothing that tall existed on Earth at the time. The tallest building on Earth was the Grand Pyramid of Cheops. So Gustav Eiffel knew that in order to go at that height, well, he had to take under consideration the wind and the speed of the wind. So he designed a building, a tower, with a pointed top and with many halls. So Gustav Eiffel was a very good project planner. He had designed every piece of the Eiffel Tower. He fabricated each piece separately. The pieces were pre-assembled on the factory. They were brought over here on the site, and 200 workers took 2 years, 2 months and 5 days to put everything together. And it was so well organized that there wasn't a single working accident, serious working accident, on the site of the Eiffel Tower. So when it opened, it was a great miracle. Millions of people actually lined up to go up, and actually it was one of the first buildings that we had elevators. So actually they would line up just to use the elevators. And so many people visited the first year that it opened that they broke even. Actually, the Eiffel Tower earned everything it had costed to be built. So there is something going on in that right in front of the Eiffel Tower. This is where we, let's say, if we can stop to take some pictures.
It's amazing.
We will be dropped off here, and we will come back in a quarter of an hour. Is that okay?
15 minutes, guys.
15 minutes, yes, is what I said. Is it okay?
Okay, look at the time. Okay.
Somewhere over. Here we go. Yeah?
Sculpture, and the column in the middle, the column that was made by Napoleon. Of course, you've heard the name. This very famous Napoleon, who after winning against the Austrians, he took their cannons and he built this column just to remind actually people that he won in the Austerlitz battle. So in the Place Vendôme today is a very elegant area, including we have also the Ritz Hotel. So of course, if you remember, it was 19 years ago when Princess Diana had this fatal car accident in Paris, and actually she left from the Ritz Hotel, which was right here, and on her way to the west of the city actually she had this accident. Right, so many things about Paris, but actually here I told you it's the area with all the jewelry shops. It's very elegant, and actually this street is called Rue de la Paix. It means the Street of Peace. is actually the most expensive street on the French edition of the Monopoly. So that gives you an idea. So Rue de la Paix, actually this is where, if somebody has a hotel, you must never get in there. So, Paris, well, it has been continuously occupied since the ancient times. There were many people, of course, that went through Paris. Well, first we had a tribe that was called Parisi, and actually they gave the name to the city. We had the Romans, and then we had the Frankish that will become the French. So I mentioned Napoleon just a little while ago. Napoleon was emperor from 1804 to 1814. And a few years later, a nephew of his will become emperor as well, and his name was Napoleon III. So Napoleon III actually wanted to rebuild Paris because Paris was very, very medieval. So he razed it to the ground and he built a new modern district. In the heart of it, you can see on the left, well, the Opera House. Well, this is an area that I'm sure that you will get back as well. You'll have a better look at this beautiful multicolored building. And this opera of Paris actually inspired a very famous book that became a very famous film and a very famous musical, The Phantom of the Opera. The Phantom of the Opera lives there. So as we will be actually heading now towards the river, because this is where most of our landmarks are, well, we are driving in this avenue which is called the Avenue of the Opera, and you can really appreciate the Parisian architecture. Well, Paris has a very uniform architecture because it was all built at the same time from the 1850s to the 1870s, and it was so successful, this planning, that even buildings that were built in the 20th century were built in the same fashion. So this is what we call the Parisian or Haussmann architecture. Haussmann was the urban planner who had a great idea. He had actually the idea that all social classes would live under the same roof. So all buildings in Paris follow that idea, and if I will explain it to you, well, you can then understand everything in the city. So the ground floor, we have a shop. Paris was a very, very popular shopping destination already in the 1850s. So we have a shop. Right above the shop, there is a mezzanine floor. This is very low ceiling floor where the shopkeepers would live. Right above, we have the floor with the highest ceiling, the most elaborate balconies, and all that decoration. Do you see the first floor is a lot more important? That was for the aristocrats and the rich people. At the time, we didn't have elevators yet, so of course the first floor was the most prestigious one. And then right above we would have the upper middle class people. On the third floor we would have the middle class people, then the the public servants. On the top we would have craftsmen and workers, and right under the roof you can see those tiny windows. These were for the servants. So everybody actually lived in the same building, and we didn't have areas for the poor and areas for the rich in Paris, so it became a very, very modern city. So that actually applies to almost all buildings in Paris. So we are getting closer now to the Louvre, to the Royal Palace. On the left we have another palace, which was called the Cardinal Palace. It was built by Cardinal, who later gave it to the king, and this is why it is now called the Royal Palace. It was reserved for members of the royal family. In the corner there is a theater, and this is where Molière, the very famous French playwright, actually performed, and he died on stage performing The Imaginary Invalid. So now that's a very tight passage, and of course we have a very good driver. And through this passage we get in the front court of the Louvre. So this is of course the Palace of the Kings. The story of the Louvre is over 800 years old. Today it is a museum where the most famous painting in the world is the Mona Lisa, of course. And on the left you can see the famous glass pyramid of the Louvre that was built in 1989 by the Chinese-American architect I.M. Pei. So that was actually a way to improve the access to the museum. The Louvre receives 10 million visitors per year, so that was quite complicated. Now with this pyramid you can go through, you go underground, and you can choose which part of the museum to visit. And from this spot actually you can admire the famous perspective of Paris. On the right hand side we have an arch, and through this arch you can see on another arch which is further down, and that's the Arch of Triumph. We will get there with a coach, but look at this straight line. Well, that's the very famous perspective of Paris, because Paris actually, of course, was designed in a way to show that France was a very, very powerful country. So we are actually crossing this front court of the Louvre. The Louvre is a huge place. So we have 3 different metro stops. If you want to come to the Louvre, there is one on one end, another one in the middle, and a third one in the gardens of the palace. So 3 different stops just for the Louvre. We will now get right next to the river, next to the River Seine. So the River Seine is a very, very long river, 770 kilometers, running from the east to the west. This is why the right-hand side is the right bank, the left-hand side is the left bank. And the River Seine, of course, has defined Paris, because it was used since the ancient times for transportation, and of course the most beautiful buildings are built along the River Seine. So that's nice, we have some sunshine, because the day didn't start off that well. We had some rain in the morning and wind, which is not very nice, but of course now it gets a lot better. So the Louvre on the left hand side, with 35,000 objects on display, and yet that is not even 1/10 of the whole collection. If you want to spend 2 minutes in front of each object which is on display, it would take you 9 months. And if you wanted to spend 5 minutes, it would take you 2 years. So if you plan to visit, be prepared. So the story of Paris actually begins from a very tiny spot, a tiny island, which is in the middle of the river, in the middle of the city. So in the city of Paris we have 2 natural islands on the River Seine, and one of them is called the City Island, because this is where this first Celtic tribe was settled in the 3rd century BC. Their name was the Parisi, and the island, actually the tip of the island, you can see it here on the right hand side. So that's the City Island, and this is where we're heading to, because on that island we have the Notre Dame Cathedral. So the story of this island, so that tribe settled here because first of all, well, the river would flood regularly, and both river banks were actually swamps, were marshlands. So of course the river, the island with all the deposits was standing a little higher, and those people actually built wooden bridges, and whenever the enemy attacked, well, they would burn the bridges and stay safe on their island. But of course that was until the Romans arrived. The Romans conquered them very, very easily, and they called this city the city of the Parisi. So this is how the name was coined. So the Romans first built a palace on that side of the island, where you can see here on the right hand side we have the the western tip of the island. They built a palace, and on the eastern part of the island, on the opposite side of the island, they built a temple. And when the French kings actually were established, they built on the same spot where the Romans had a palace, their own palace, and where the Romans had a church, a temple, they built a church. So of course we have the political power on one side of the island and the religious center on the other. So the city island on the right hand side, this bridge that you can see, well, we have many bridges on the River Seine. Each bridge has its own story, and this bridge is called Pont Neuf. If you understand French, it means the new bridge, but it's quite contradictory because this bridge is the oldest in the city. It's 400 years old. And it was called the new bridge because it was the first bridge built in stone. All other bridges were built in wood. So that was the first one in stone, very modern, and it was called the new bridge. So, the palace of the French kings, well, that's the palace, you can see it on the right hand side. The kings lived here for a very long time until they moved to the Louvre in the 1400s. So until then they lived here on the city island. The building that you can see on the right hand side is called La Conciergerie. That's a bit difficult to pronounce, but I guess you know the word concierge, which means doorman. But at the time, the concierge was a nobleman. It was one of the highest privileges, one of the most important titles in France, because the concierge was responsible for the second most important building after the palace, and that was the High Court of Justice. So this palace was the High Court of Justice, and still today it's the Supreme Court. So we are now getting closer to the spot where we will be dropped off. So because the city island is quite small and many people want to visit, we are not allowed to stop and be dropped off on the city island because the traffic would be just hectic. So we can only be dropped off and we will be picked up on the riverbanks. So we will be dropped off not far from here, and then it's a very short walk over the bridge, of course. On such a nice day it will be a very pleasant walk, and we will get, of course, to the Notre Dame Cathedral, and that will be our first stop.
Yes, sir. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, they need.
So here on the left, this is a very interesting building. You can see those statues, let's say, hanging. So there are many buildings in Paris. Well, there are already apartments, but many buildings as well that are not occupied. You know, they either belong to big companies that they don't do anything with that, or, you know, to people that actually, instead of renting them out, they just keep it, because sometimes, you know, when you rent it, it could be a little risky. Anyway, so that building was finally occupied by some artists, claiming actually more accommodation in Paris, and most importantly, cheap accommodation, because of course there are not so many apartments offered, and well, still, let's say the status of this building is not very cleared out, but they have done a great job because they have restored it in a sense, and it's open. You can visit. As you can see, there are all these signs that it's open. Free visit, the best thing to do in Paris, and of course they want to show that you know, there are buildings that can be taken care of, you know, that really don't want to stay there and just destroy it, but just claim this free space, and actually space that even if it's not free, it can be affordable for this part of the population that, well, cannot normally afford to live in Paris. So the apartments in Paris are quite small, as it happens with the biggest capitals, and of course the prices, let's say, vary according to the district. I told you we have 20 districts, and there are different prices. There are some that are very expensive, some that are cheaper, especially the ones that are out towards the limits of the city. But we have an average, actually, of 10,000 euros per square meter, which is something like 10 square feet, I think. And that's the average. I mean, this is, you know, in an area that is not the best or the safest. But for areas that are like more exclusive, you know, if you wish a view on the Eiffel Tower in front of a nice park, etc., you can go up to double that, or even more if it's something really special. So yes, it costs a lot to live in Paris. So, you know, if you want like a 3-bedroom apartment, which is not very big, you know, with small rooms, it costs something like 1 million euros. Yes, it's a lot. So of course, most people, especially with families, are moving out of the city. So for Paris, we have a population of 2,200,000 people, which is small, very human in scale, but outside the limits of the city, we have the suburbs with 10 more million people. So the total population of Paris is 12 million, but only 2 are living in the city. Well, on the other hand, we have many people, more than double that, that come into Paris daily, either to work or to shop, as today, of course, because on the weekends you have people from the suburbs coming to the city, you know, to spend the day or to do some shopping. So it gets busy.